I've recently come to a realization that a lot of my success in regards to filming content, coming up with ideas, and things of that nature, a lot of it comes from this thing that I had ignored for a very long time. The internet calls it semen retention. The Another word for it is nofap, and it's not something I've denied, but it's something that I just didn't really believe in for a very, very long time. And as it turns out, almost it's like almost every one of my successes has come, at least in some way, from just abstaining from that kind of behavior for an extended period of time. I mean, this goes back to like sports when I was young. You know, you're becoming a teenager, and you have a good game, and you can kind of correlate that with not, do they call it releasing, right? Um, and so I was into parkour and free running for a long time, and some of my best sessions come usually when I was traveling. So that's the big one. Is I'm realizing now that so much of like my good times have come from when I was traveling, because I thought it was travel. I thought it was being in a new place, and it is. It's really, really cool. But so much of um, the fun, the amazingness, the I don't even know how to explain it. Like the transcendental nature of traveling, I just assumed it was the travel, but actually, almost every time I traveled, whether it was Europe, Australia, China, shoot, even New Zealand, like all of these places, and a lot of this content that you see on the channel comes from what the community calls divine downloads. And I was like, oh, it's just coming from me. It's like, no, I'm not sure that it is. And recently I've been dabbling in it again, and just kind of seeing how long I can go, I guess. I call these things streaks, and it's rather remarkable. I'm just thinking like when I was in Australia, I mean, even the women that I've dated and been with has come largely from a streak. Usually, I'm estimating about 2 weeks minimum, because like it was something that I really struggled with when I was younger, was just interrelating and achieving that. But it just comes to you if you just kind of hold off for a period of time, and I did not understand that. And there's some energetic issues too, familial issues, relationships with primary caregivers. Attachment style is very popular now, or it's growing in popularity on the internet. As to why that struggle was, but I'm thinking like almost every girl that like I successfully, I guess, dated or was with came from some form of retention for a period of probably a minimum of 2 weeks, which is wild. That's sort of the revelation. This is my confession of all the bad things in life had like happened because of this unknown, unseen, uncontrolled, these urges that I think has affected, and will continue to affect many, many, many young men. Their ability to relate gets absorbed by the internet and by images on the screen, and it's in all the social medias now. I mean, shoot, even probably within just within certain communities, you get people posting bikini picture. It's just there's no need for it. We're all hijacked anyway. So when you break off from that, you're able to basically, I don't want to say you get superpowers, but I'm climbing on buildings. I'm hanging off the edges of buildings with no fear, which is like it's really unnatural. It's not normal. It really isn't normal. But I think retention streaks have allowed me to do that, and I've created a couple of channels that have enabled that over the course of the last, I guess, 10-ish years or something like that. Yeah, I met a girl in a hostel. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna succeed, at dating and stuff, and she came out of nowhere. That happened again in Thailand after about a 2 week streak. Like, and then there's women that I would have almost gotten with, but then I didn't because, well, lots of reasons, but energetically I was depleted and drained. So there was nothing there. And I didn't understand how to interrelate already, so that foundation wasn't there. Because there are people that don't do this and don't notice any problems, and that's fine. But in my case, as somebody, I guess I had a low set point. And I think a lot of men, especially if you're exposed to adult lewd images at a young age, um, that can seriously affect your ability to relate with the opposite sex, especially as a male, for the rest of your life. And it's getting worse because of the prevalence of screens and internet. Anyway, I'm thinking back. I got to go on Ninja Warrior twice. No, I didn't get any screen time. Now I think I might know why. But yeah, the first time I went, I think it was 2014. I'm estimating, and it was at Venice Beach. It was on the beach, and the night before my time to go on the run, I was like, I was on top of the world. This is where my success begins. And then I just got I said, I can have it all. I got a little cocky, and then you have a little release. And then I literally fell on the first obstacle of that course, which was the easiest. It's the back and forth. It's like the easiest obstacle. And that was incredibly demoralizing. I thought I was never going to, should I just stop training? Should I just stop going to the gym? It was really bad. Anyway, to turn it back to the SR discussion, I had abstained. So I went again a couple years later, and I made it all the way up to the end, to the right before the warped wall, which was like the toilet paper. They call them the toilet paper rules. I think battering ram, I think, is the official term. And I did slip there, so I did a lot better. And I also didn't release prior to that, which was smart. Probably should have held it for longer. But I had no idea what was going on. I'm trying to think of other bizarre miracles and things. I definitely had some attachment issues, which messed with my mind. Because now when I look back at my life, it's like the amount of possible opportunities that I had. I'm looking at a map right now of like Europe and the world, and just thinking about all the times when, it's like when I released and then life became worse, or I met somebody that was like, oh, this is kind of like the kind of person that I want to be with, but it was a disconnect. There just wasn't enough. I think I was on a trip for a week to New Zealand, and I was like, when I was in Australia, and I was just, I'm so excited. It's interesting. Some people release when they're depressed, and I guess when I'm feeling like I'm winning and I'm on top of the world, I guess that's interesting. That's sort of not a trigger, but like a reason to give. But released like before that plane ride, I think, and then I literally got off the plane, and then I got sick. I ate a tomato sandwich where the tomatoes were bad, and then I got sick, and that was a really difficult week. And it was still, New Zealand's amazing even when you're sick. We went to the South Island, amazing stuff. But just to think about all the ways in which, like, if I had known what I know now, my life could be radically, radically different. And be grateful for, what you know and your information and where you're at today. But it's wild to think how different everything could have been. My Euro trip would have been very, very different if I had understood the power of just abstaining and keeping all that. Because all those benefits, I mean, maybe I'm different, maybe I'm weird, but I definitely understand and experience them. I mean, pretty much all of it. I don't think there's anything that I've heard that I'm like, nope. No. It's wild. It's truly wild. And a lot of those, the videos, if you watch my channel, and a lot of these like form and formless, I didn't really have any formal. I did take a couple philosophy classes in high school or in college, but it wasn't something I dug deep in. So they kind of came out of nowhere. I just thought it was the transcendental experience of traveling, and that's part of it, obviously, but there's something like deeper at work there that I was not aware of. So this is sort of like my confession of, are your successes even yours, or is it just how you manage your forces and your energy, some of which is given, it's all given to you, right? But we have this idea that we just control our lives and control everything. I've got a lot of theories, about this whole the semen retention thing, and then what it talk about divine downloads. I've been digging into all sorts of stuff, Jungian psychology, and man, like just the spirituality of it all. And there's some really crazy things that I'm starting to think really are true. And it's blowing my mind that it's finally hitting me now. I'm like, oh, dude. Like I gave a talk the other day at a university about my brief time in the military, and it went exceedingly well. Like everyone was clapping afterward. It was 5 minutes. Like everyone's like looking at me before. People are saying they're deeply impacted by what I'm saying, which I guess on the one hand is like the point. It's like the point of this channel. It's the point of, this sort of, we'll say, transcendental content, right? Trying to go beyond your issues. It's like the aim, the plan. But now it's like I'm starting to wonder if any of that was ever really mine, or if it's just consciousness pushing through the vessel of what we are. And that's interesting. Because on the one hand, it frees you up to do more things and to be like, well, cool, it's not really me then. On the other hand, it's like, well, what is it then? Which is a whole other discussion. But we're coming up a little over 10 minutes now. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say. Just like a lot of the girls that I've seen and a lot of the successes with women has come from some form of abstinence, and a lot of the traveling. And I mean, I would literally climb buildings for hours. I mean, when I was in India, I got stared at a lot, and that's a common, I thought it was just because, the color of my skin and I look different. And one guy literally walked up to me and shook my hand and said, Jesus? And I'm like, no. I had long hair and a beard, and I was wearing this, like, not linen, but it was like, I don't know, more traditional looking shirt. I kind of get how he could think that. But the vibe, I realize now, is I was on a 2-week streak, so a lot of weird, spiritual, magical things were happening to me when I was in Thailand. And when I went to India, some guy just came out of nowhere when I was eating, and he offered me a Buddha Lucky Charm when I went to India, and everything was fine in India. I think in India I didn't even have my credit card or anything like that. So, and then when I was done with the trip, I think either the amulet broke or it fell off my backpack, and I'm just like, talk about synchronicities, man. Like, it's just weird. I'm just starting to believe it. I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together and noticing all this stuff. And part of it is there's a fear of like, oh, what happens when you go back to normal? It's like, I don't know, but also taking any action from fear is also ill-advised in the way that this sort of, I don't know, energy matrix that we live in, if you want to define it like that. But yeah, it's not normal to be able to hang on the edge of buildings and jump off of them and like balance. I mean, now that I think about what I was doing, like that was exceedingly bizarre. And it was so easy. I mean, there's a couple of shots that I'm hanging off the edge of like maybe 50 to 60 story building, but I was at peace, man. Like, that's just so bizarre. I think a lot of it was due to some form of retention. Or I should say largely in part to that. There was that life force within. But yeah, there's all sorts of weird scenarios in life where if I had just known about this 10 years ago, that would have been wild. But it is what it is, and I'm grateful to know about it now. And now this is not meant to be like an SR channel. That's not the plan. Those divine downloads, they will be coming. Right now, the other Instagram is transcend_limits, because I couldn't get Transcend Movement Academy or something. So, that's the other Instagram. I'm doing more stuff there right now. But there will still be divine downloads and higher level concepts, as I like to call them. But I also have a lot of interesting theories about what's going on with this whole, retention sort of movement that's coming about. And in the wake of the end of the 1960s, free love movement, pornography and media came out of that, and we're kind of seeing it fall off. We're kind of seeing people wake up. A lot of millennials are waking up. hopefully we can get to those Gen Zers so they're not totally messed up, because they're getting exposed to this stuff way younger than we were, younger than Gen X, and younger than when the boomers were exposed to this kind of media. So it's interesting. So we'll see how it goes, and I hope you enjoy this my confession about my successes. I think a lot of them have come from retention. So it's something I'm thinking about. So something for you to think about as well. Anyway, with that said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.